Happy New Year, guys. I really wish you a very happy, successful, and loving 2022. And using code 2022, you can get 22% off all clothing on vintagegenetics.com to celebrate the new year. And this very video will be about one of my deload workouts. So this is a deload leg workout. If you remember, 2 to 3 weeks ago, I posted a video of me doing my first deload week ever in my life. So I've been training for 14 years straight without having ever taken a deload at all. So this is going to be one of those deload workouts. My lower back was bothering me. I wasn't really recovering well. I just felt a little lethargic. And if you think, watching a deload video is boring, then keep this in mind. If your appetite is low, if you're reaching strength plateaus, if you feel tired throughout the day, if you don't feel like wanting to go to train, if you're not excited to go to train, a deload could be the fix to all of those issues, trust me. And it fixed a lot of those issues for me for sure. So basically what this deload is you cut the volume in half. So normally you will be doing 2 working sets for each exercise, and now it's just 1 working set. Now what is a working set? That is a set that goes to failure. And whenever you go to failure, that's when you need to recover a whole lot. So if you only need to recover half as much as normal, that's a lot of time for your body to recover this time compared to your usual volume. So giving your time a little bit of a break by cutting the volume in half, it just feels really good. And don't try to set new records during a deload week. It's all about maintaining strength on that 1 working set. And after the deload week is done, you might actually have become stronger because you're finally able to recover from all of those other work that you did. So thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of the video. What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. Today is going to be a leg day, but it's one of my deload workouts. As you guys know, if you followed me on my Vintage Genetics channel right here, the deload video I just uploaded, you can see and hear that I needed a deload to actually get rid of fatigue, get rid of water weight, get rid of stress, and then actually allow my strength to rise after the deload week. So you will see a deload leg workout where the volume is cut in half, but the volume we still are doing will be to the max. So the first workout, the first exercise is going to be the laying leg curl as always. We're only going to do 1 working set per exercise, but that working set will go to the max, and we're still going to beat our logbook, but then that's with that 1 working set. So let's do this. Alrighty, guys, so as I mentioned, a deload workout. Pretty much the exact same as all the other workouts. So if you are planning to do a deload, don't be afraid. You can still do all your regular workouts. The only difference is the amount of working sets. So all the warm-ups, are the same, and arguably you should warm up a little bit more in order to prevent any form of injury or pain or anything like that from occurring, because that's exactly what you want to fix during a deload. So, adding a few warm-up sets, just as you go heavier, you lower the reps, won't accumulate fatigue, because one of the things you also want to do during a deload is limiting and fixing and lowering the fatigue. Because whenever you do, a set of failure like this one, you generate fatigue, and since we're doing only half of these sets, only half of the fatigue will be caused, but still 1 working set will cause enough muscle growth stimulus for growth. Okay, as you saw, just 1 working set with a laying leg curl. I didn't choose the highest weight I did before. I actually went for the back offset weight, so I was able to do 15 reps. Clean reps, no cheating, but yes to failure, but not past failure. We're going to do the same with the leg extension, so it's a second isolation movement to warm up the entire legs, mostly the knees as well, before moving on to the compound. So let's first warm up, and then after a while do the first working set again. Let's do this. Now, and especially during the leg extension, I like to use this movement to warm up the knees quite a lot before hitting a heavy compound movement. So especially here, you might want to do some extra warm-ups, because now you will only be doing one working set, and sometimes that extra working set, which would be with a lighter weight and more reps, also serves as a warm-up for the knees and the joints and the tendons before doing the heavy compound. So doing just a few extra warm-ups, doesn't have to be a lightweight, but just don't, fatigue your legs at all, because then it's not a warm-up anymore. But that can prevent any form of pain, or the knees just not being filled with blood enough before hitting that heavier compound, which we're about to hit right now. Okay guys, it's time for the first compound movement, and you know what it is, the ATX belt squat. Now, why do I love this, especially during a deload week? It's because this one doesn't put any strain on the lower back. So the posterior chain stress is what causes the most fatigue in most people, like doing deadlifts, doing back squats. Those are the most fatiguing movements. This is also a squat, but this limits the stress to only the legs, because the weight is pulling from the hips. So trust me guys, if you can get a belt squat in your gym, get one, because you will love it, no matter what type of training you're doing, whether it's a deload or a max out lean bulking exercise routine, doesn't matter. This one is great for recovery regardless. So let's do some warm-up sets, and then again 2 working sets on this one, and I'll explain why later on. So when you are doing a deload, you're usually in a holding phase, so you don't really want to go all out and try to beat your previous record. If you feel like you're starting to grind out those reps, simply stop, at least maintain your strength. But at the same time, what I wanted to tell you guys, I'm doing the belt squat right here because I know it doesn't load my spine at all. So there is no actual loading. That means there's nothing pushing on top of my back, nothing stressing the lower back, nothing really making the back and the erector muscles or all those other muscles around it work to keep myself stable, because this belt is pulling from the hip. So I purposely choose to not do movements like a barbell squat, a strength machine squat, or even a hack squat, because all of those movements put pressure and weight on top of your body, which makes it more of a full body movement, which makes systemic fatigue rise, and local fatigue in comparison to systemic fatigue will be lower, and the local fatigue here is in the legs, which is where exactly you want it. Okay guys, so I just did 1 working set. Normally I would end it here because it's a deload session, but instead of doing another compound, which I would normally do, I'm sticking with the belt squat and doing 2 working sets here, instead of doing 1 working set on the leg press or the hack squat or the strength machine squat, because all of those movements put pressure on the lower back, and the belt squat is the only one that really doesn't. So we're going to maximize this exercise and then not do another heavy compound after this. So this is working set number 2, just a back off set, which I normally would do, which always feels great. Let's do this. So to further emphasize the point I made earlier, stick to movements that, just feel great for the muscle that you're working. Honestly, if the only thing I needed to do for leg growth was the belt squat, that's exactly what I would do. So sometimes I even do 3 working sets on a belt squat and then just 1 working set on a leg press or a hack squat, for example. Just because this movement feels so incredible, at least to me. I'm a taller bodybuilder, so almost every other leg movement involves some kind of lower back pressure or, just a shift of tension to other parts of the body, like the lower back or the back in general. This exercise just provides such a good stimulus to the legs without stimulating any other muscle group. It's just something I want to stay on, which is why I'm doing the second exercise working set on the same exercise as well. Okay guys, the next movement for the upper legs is going to be the Sissy Squat. It is called a Sissy Squat, but actually it's one of the hardest squats to do perfect. So it kind of looks like a leg extension, because with a leg extension all you do is move your lower leg, but this time it's the reverse. So your lower leg stays still and the rest of your body moves. So it's a much more difficult movement, kind of like a compound, but still kind of an isolation for the quads as well. Also enabling you to fully contract the quad is one of the only squat movements that allows you to do that. So let's first get started with the 80x resistance band to help me get up. It's a warm-up, and then hopefully without. So let's do this. Now, just to be able to do another kind of, squat or a compound, I'm doing the Sissy Squat, but then of course just using my body weight. What I am using here though to warm up and get used to the movement is a resistant band by ATX. You do want to go with a reputable brand, because if you go with a cheap resistant band and you're really relying on this band being there to catch your body weight and it's going to snap, well, you might be in some kind of trouble if that happens to you. It almost happened to me a couple of videos ago. If you want to check it out, you should, but it wasn't the band's fault, it was the place where I attached the band's fault, because it let go. So you don't want to be in such a position. So first I'm just warming up the entire, movement pattern, basically getting used to getting into the Sissy Squat, seeing how deep I can go, see if I don't feel any pain at all anywhere, because to me that's very important. And if you don't, you can move on to a heavier resistance, which means, removing the band from helping you and simply using body weight, going all the way down until you physically can't go down anymore, and then going up until you feel tension losing in the quads. From that moment, you go back down again to keep constant tension on the quads, which makes this a great finisher after already having done a few working sets on a compound movement. Alright, the upper leg volume is done now, so we just did 1 working set on the Sissy Squat, 2 working sets on the belt squat, and 1 working set on both the laying leg curl and the leg extension. So half of the effort I normally do, but that's needed for a deload. And now it's time for the calves. Also just 1 working set, just doing 1 warm up now, and then a working set to failure, because the calves, well, they also cannot ever be big enough. Let's do this. Now this is the last movement, and the calves, even if you work them to the death, it won't really cause that much systemic fatigue at all. But for me, I personally chose to only do 1 working set here as well, because the calves are pretty much a strong muscle group in my body. At least they're not a weak muscle group or a muscle group that's behind at all. So just 1 working set is more than enough to maintain muscle size and strength in the calf muscles. I can imagine for some people, even during the deload week, if you have weak calves, you might as well just keep doing the 2 working sets. I wouldn't do more than that though, because you don't want to drive too much fatigue, as the whole deload week is you're doing it to lower fatigue, but calves are walking around all day anyway. They're used to a lot of beating, and if they really lag behind, you don't really want to waste any time on trying to get them up at the rest of your physique. So then you might as well do 2 working sets, but 1 working set here with weights and a resistant bands, because otherwise it's too light, is more than enough for me to maintain size. Okay guys, that's the end of the deload leg session, and as I've mentioned in the deload video where I explain what a deload is, I really do recommend you guys to try this out at least for a week. You will see your strength increasing at the end of the week, your body compositioning, at least how you look like, improving, because you will drop water. You will feel more motivated to train. It's just good for recovery overall. Keep eating your regular diet and you will recover like a champion. Anyway guys, this was the workout. Don't forget to check out the new USA line on vintageness.com, along with other new items, old school and classic bodybuilding apparel. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to stay golden.